Getting older can sometimes suck, and getting older in the age of social media definitely sucks. If you're tired of people telling you to age gracefully, then you're in the right place. This is all about living your best life at any age. First rule, don't call me ma'am. Hey everyone, I'm Jodi Miller, and this is Don't Call Me Ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this guest that we have today. And I know I say that about almost all my guests, but I really am, because I am deep in it with her, and we're going to get into it. I know you guys are like, oh, different type of podcast, guys. Go on OnlyFans if you're thinking something dirty. I'm deep.
Kind of dirty.
It is dirty. You're actually right. It is dirty. And I'm sure some people would pay to see it. A lot of people would. Anyway, she is, and this is my favorite title, you are a parent coach, which the second I saw that on your site, I was like, yes, I think so many parents need that. She's a behavioral specialist that work with adolescents, children of all ages, I'm assuming. Yep. Yes. She's amazing. Start clapping right now. And by that, I mean, pull over to the side of the road if you're listening in your car and start clapping for Naama Cameron. Yay.
Thank you, Jodi. Thank you.
I'm going to give everyone the background about how we met, and then I need to hear your whole journey. Okay, so the whole
some good stories in there.
I can't even wait. This could be a 10-hour podcast. Okay, so everybody knows my daughter, Mackenzie. Right around three, I started noticing that she was, her poop, she would deny poops. I think a lot of toddlers are like, I didn't poop. And there's like a giant softball in her diaper. I was like, you sure you didn't poop? I posted videos about that. And then it was getting a little bit worse. And I asked her pediatrician, and he put her on a Miralax, and that didn't really work. And then he recommended me to a GI specialist, pediatric GI specialist, who was great. And they explained to me that a lot of times what happens is, with kids, they have a painful poop, and it sort of imprints in their brain, and they don't want to poop, which I totally get. We've all had the pain poop. But for little kids, they don't understand. So we're going to just give her some stuff that's going to help things flowing, and then it'll break that cycle, and then she'll poop, no problem. And it kind of was working. It was in the beginning, and then it wasn't. And then it was again. It wasn't that it wasn't coming out. It was now like leaving skin. It was just kind of everywhere. And then I was referred to you. She is the poop fairy. Which I'm sure when you were young, you were like,
this is what I want to be.
Exactly. There's a tooth fairy. There should be a poop
fairy.
The diaper fairy. Now there's a poop fairy.
Yes.
Do you leave money with the poop? Or?
Yeah, I come in, I take the poop, and then I leave money.
She leaves it under your
I leave toilet paper and wipes.
Paper, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, tell me how you got into working with children and what you do, and then how it transitioned, because I really do believe this is an epidemic that is happening with kids that is completely different, I'm assuming, from 20 years ago.
100%, even before COVID.
Okay.
So I worked as a school psychologist for a while, and I missed having that interaction with kids. Right. So I've always worked with kids. I was a camp director. I was an after-school program director. Right. So I've never had a job not working with kids, which I love because...
Did you grow up with a big family?
I have two older brothers, but always was like at camp and campy stuff, and so I loved kids. Yeah. So then I was a school psychologist, ended up getting a divorce, if you wanted the whole story.
Yes.
Okay, so that happened, and then I had to work 2 jobs because that's always fun. And so...
Because you were like, one job's not enough.
I'll do 2 jobs.
Let's just do it.
And I'll go through divorce because that's super fun.
Oh my God, it's so much fun, guys.
Yes, I highly recommend it. Please do it. So I ended up doing one-on-one behavioral therapy for a child, and then I was doing it at a school, and the school ended up saying, hey, would you like to teach? And I thought, okay, I'll give it a try.
Right.
So I started teaching 3 and 4-year-olds, and I loved it. I had a ball.
It is a great age.
But I will tell you this, my last year of teaching was so unbelievably challenging. I had so many kids with bathroom problems and just speech and behavioral issues, and I was doing so much work with the parents outside of the classroom, and I thought, I should really do this.
Right.
As a career.
Yes.
So I did some parenting classes, and then I ended up moving into my own practice.
Right.
And at first it was like, what am I doing? Can I really do this? But I really loved it, and I really enjoyed it. And I connected with some schools. I was able to help some kids. And here and there I would have a child with some poop issues.
Right.
And just based on my background and my knowledge, I figured, listen, a lot of this has to do with control. As you know, kids like to be in charge, and you can control pooping, you can control sleeping, you can control eating.
Right.
And so I, would dabble here and there, and I would help parents out. It wasn't a big thing. It was probably 1 out of 10 calls. And then it kind of became like 3 out of 10 calls. Okay, and then I got better and better at this because I really started to understand why children do it, how it works. Then COVID hit. That beautiful COVID.
I don't know what you're talking about. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, where we got to watch ourselves age in real time. Side note, so frightening.
Eat and drink and just never socialize.
Never socialized. For me, I was alone. It was just me and my cat. And I watched the Botox literally drain out of my face. It was like that scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, for those old enough to watch that original, when they all get really old. That's what I watched myself. It was just me and my cat, and I thought I was going crazy.
I would go crazy if it was just, I had my kids, my dogs, and my husband, but we were up every night baking. It was a shit show. It really was. So as we got out of COVID, I will tell you, in the last couple of years, it's 9 out of 10 of my calls.
Oh my God.
I'm not even exaggerating. Parents always call me and they're like, is this something that you can help out with? Do you have experience with this? And I'm like, absolutely. And I get calls from people all over the country. I get calls from people in Europe. Wow. This is not just an LA thing.
Right.
It's happening all over. And I think parents are burnt out.
Yeah.
They're struggling. So they're not, a lot of parents are like, well, they showed signs, but then they didn't. So I'll just back off and I'll wait until they're ready. Because it does happen, like you said, where there's one, I would say, traumatic experience, relatively speaking. Yes. And then that becomes their new habit.
Yes.
And then you get sucked in it.
Right.
Right? Because you're just like, I just want you to poop. I'll do whatever. Right. And it becomes this cycle.
And there are so many contradicting, books, advice columns, blogs, anything that's be really poop positive. Everything's poop positive. And I started that way before I met you. I was like, we'll have a sticker and we'll do this. And, there's all of gentle parenting.
Yes.
All of that.
Thank you.
It's just
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And it's it's okay. Everything, it's so confusing. And I felt like with you, just from the 15-minute consultation we had in the beginning, I was like, oh, she's my people. She understands where I'm coming from. And maybe it's a generational thing.
That could be a new word.
Whatever. I just make up words here on this podcast,
for sure.
guys. I'll say whatever I want, and you'll believe it.
I'm in it. I support her for that.
Totally. Thank you. But it could be. But I'm wondering, is this something that is happening more really physically, or is it just something people are finally starting to talk about? Because I'm wondering, again, every time I talk about it on stage, in a funny way, people, someone either shouts out or comes up to me afterwards and tells me that they're going through that, they went through that, hang in there.
You'll get this.
Yes, you can do it. Is it, because I don't remember any of my friends, and I'm the oldest mom out of all of my friends from college, all their kids are in college or out of school. I don't remember any of them talking about it.
33 is not that old.
I know, guys. I'm super young.
Yeah.
And
come on. Yeah. I was going to say 33.
No, when my daughter's in college, I'm going to be 105. But
I'll be right behind you.
Which is why I plan on her moving home and staying and taking care of me.
Yeah.
And then she can deal with my poop problems.
See, that's the full circle.
That is so full circle.
That is the full circle. Just wait, Mackenzie.
She has no idea. So wait a minute. So did you is this something that's physically happening? Is it something that there's just, I don't know. Is it the people raising the kids? Is it something that's happening or people are just talking about it more? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of both. And I think you brought up a really good point, is that the gentle parenting, a lot of parents come to me and they say, well, we saw signs, so we encouraged them to go, but then they started withholding, so we put them back in a diaper because we figured they weren't ready. Cut to, I get a phone call when the kid is 4, 5, 6 years old, and they're still in a diaper.
Diapers.
So a lot of times parents will say to me, do you think my child's ready? 3 and a half, and I say absolutely. And the reason is because I potty trained my son at 18 months.
Wow.
So I know my daughter was 2, probably because just they're 15 months apart, so I was so crazy busy.
Right.
But as soon as I saw signs, I went for it, and I was just consistent. And
Right.
it's hard. It's hard for parents. It's when you see your child, you got to be on top of it. You got to know when to take them. You've got to sit. You've got to encourage them.
Yes.
But you can't make it this big, huge production.
Right.
So I think that the minute you see signs, you have to do it, and you can't backpedal. That's what a lot of parents do, understandably so.
Right. So when you say signs, though, you're talking about potty training in general.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, so let's just say what happens is if, a child withholds, okay? Because now they've been potty trained, which is a lot of my clients.
Yes, my
They've
daughter
been
is. Yes.
fully potty trained, but then something happens, some traumatic event, constipated, a poop that hurts, whatever it is, and then it becomes their new pattern,
Right.
their new habit, and then the parents become desperate. I mean, and I get it. Of course, even now, my son is 9 years old, and I'm like, "Did you poop? Did you poop?" Because it's so consuming.
It is.
I mean, it really is.
I remember my mom, and by the way, this is just horrifying. My mom used to call it a BM, bowel movement, and every time I
so
hear
professional.
that, but that was her generation, and she would be like, "Did you BM today?" And I'm like, "If you say that one more time, like I definitely won't BM."
That's
She's like,
hysterical.
when you're like young and your tummy hurts, and I'm Jewish, so we have digestive issues. It's
Of
just
course. I mean, we're
passed
neurotic.
down. We're just like, yeah. I remember actually when my daughter was born in the hospital, and I asked the doctor, because she was in the NICU and she had meth in her system and not enough that she had to detox, but I asked what are some of the things that I should be looking for, and he's like, I really believe in nurture versus nature in a lot of ways, but you could definitely, she might have digestive issues. I'm like, well, we're Jewish, that's happening.
It's fine. We're good with it.
I didn't actually realize that it would be this, but I remember my mom would be like, if I had a stomachache, I would have to sit on the toilet for so long until I got a BM, and then even up until like she passed away. She was living in Reno. She's like, I had a BM today, but I haven't had one in 3. I'm like, I don't ever want to hear about the BMs ever again. I can't. So I'll never. It's
BM.
just funny. BM.
You should put that on your license plate.
I should put a BM. I'm waiting for the BM. Waiting for BM.
Waiting for BM. There you go. Hashtag.
That's the thing. I don't remember.
Look, it's also not being spoken about because a
Right,
lot of
okay,
parents
yes.
call me and they're very embarrassed. They're very ashamed. They feel, and sometimes some school directors will shame them and say, I don't know what's going on, but your child keeps pooping in their pants, and it's making them feel like something's wrong with their child. Right. And so parents will call me a lot, and they'll feel very embarrassed, very ashamed, very overwhelmed. They won't know what to do. And a lot of parents say to me, I had no idea you even existed. I mean, you didn't know I existed.
I had no idea, no.
So there is a sense of once it becomes open, I think parents are relieved. I think it does happen more often than people say. A lot of families, they were hiding it from their friends' parents.
Right.
And so their kids weren't allowed to sleep over. These are, 5-year-olds,
Right.
6-year-olds, but they weren't letting their kids sleep over. And the reason was because they would need the diaper, they would poop at night. A lot of kids poop at night in their diaper. I mean, it's a whole thing that I always tell parents right when I talk to them, this is very common and there's nothing to be ashamed. There's nothing wrong with your child.
Right.
And Mackenzie's not going to be pooping in her underwear in college.
No, because she's not hot enough for that, guys. I mean, she's hot, but like you have to be another level of
you've
hot
got to be like
to
a
pull off-
25. Yes,
You do,
plus.
yes. To pull off shitting in your pants, you have to be like supermodel hot.
Supermodel hot. And you got to
Supermodel
be wild and crazy in bed.
And then you have to post it on TikTok and then be a poop influencer. And then they're like, it's whatever, it's her thing.
I love poop influencers. That's what we got to do.
A poop influencer.
She could be a poop influencer.
She could be, because my daughter has a very, I remember
the best.
She's
the best ability to hold.
She can really hold it, which again, her anal strength will come in handy in college.
Hopefully not sooner.
Yes, exactly. Here's the thing with her, and I think this was maybe a mistake. I'm not looking at it like, oh, I made such a mistake, but looking back at the way things worked out with her, she was at daycare. I didn't actually see a lot of signs that she was ready. Now, she was a preemie, And I think with most of her milestones, she was slightly behind the curve, which wasn't a big deal. I talked about it a lot in my special. You know, she walked at 18 months, but just like, fine, toddlers do everything in their own time. I never wanted to push anything, and I never wanted to create any negativity around whatever she was trying to
affect her self-esteem.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there wasn't an issue there. I remember her daycare at that time was like, we think she's ready, and they had a whole plan, and you had to like wait until like, you had to sign up and wait until there were like enough teachers to handle whoever was getting potty trained. So that was happening. I think in my mind, I just didn't realize because she wasn't pooping. It was like, I think I thought you had to really get the poop on the potty to be fully potty trained. And it wasn't until you that you were like, oh, she needs to be peeing on that.
Yes.
And that was actually really quick. She took to that like a...
And no accidents. Like, she
No
really
accidents.
got that.
Remember, not one night.
I know.
Not what
I
you were
know.
like blown away. She did 5 nights in a row immediately, not peeing. She had no accidents at nap time. She had no accidents. And to this day, the only time she'll have an accident is if she's playing with a friend and she just totally forgets even, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to constantly be hounding her. Normally she's like, I gotta go pee. But every once in a while, it's very rare. Yesterday she did pee because a dog scared her. And we all felt so bad. She's like, Mommy, I peed. I was like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
was
if I got
terrified.
scared, I would
Yeah,
pee.
I know. I'm like, the dog peed too. It's all good.
Yeah.
Everybody,
We're all peeing.
dog pee, everybody's peeing right now. I'm peeing right now, guys.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it because I'm going to have to go.
Oh, no, seriously. I mean, when you get older, too, it's the first thing that
Oh, goodness.
So she really took to that really quickly. And then it just became, and I remember the first FaceTime with you, it was like the exorcism. This child, you could see her.
I mean, to laugh.
I know, but it was. Her ass cheeks were clenching. She was holding herself up. I mean, these are things that she was doing. And I was like, oh my God. And you were so, I mean, she listens to you like I've never, I mean, you're just so gifted in that respect. Even my sitter was like, we can say very similar things that you say, but it's your voice and everything that my daughter is like, what? Like,
I'm going to count to 3, Mackenzie. And she's like, okay.
I know. She really is. She's like, oh my God. She
Which
loves
is funny
you.
because I've never actually met her in person.
I know. She's never met her in person,
Ever.
but the fear of you coming over is enough to keep her like, every
It's
time you're like, do I have to come over? So I can
hysterical.
I know. Every time I'm like, I'm going to call Naama and she's going to come over, which by the way, she calls her Llama. It's the best.
Well, I love that. There's nothing more special than teacher llama.
Teacher Llama. There is no
Everybody
teacher llama.
wants a teacher llama in their life.
Seriously. You had that moment, that first FaceTime with her, and we did get her to actually release some of it. And I thought, oh, we did it. Actually, here's the thing. I remember, I don't know if it was a friend of mine or it was my sitter, but they were like, it's great, you did it. And I just knew. I'm like, no, it's
She's
not
also
that
a savvy. That's another. Having a strong personality
Yeah.
makes it much harder.
So yeah, let's talk about the different types of kids that you worked with and their different personalities, because clearly,
Yes.
there's a spectrum of kids that are just very introverted, which is not my daughter.
No, and she's savvy and she's smart. I mean, even I was thinking this morning, I was like, God, she would sit on the toilet, she would scream and cry, scream bloody murder.
Really,
I mean,
yes, traumatizing.
But then something, like she would think of something and she would just stop and look around and laugh.
Yeah.
And then go back to screaming. Yeah. Like on, off. So the kids with stronger personalities, much harder.
Right.
So, also when the parents are very reactive or the parents are also very involved in it. So I always tell parents, which I get,
it's very hard. I can do it when because you're taking over. When it's just me and her, self-admittingly, I can start out very stoic and be non-reactional, and it just weighs me down. It just really, I get to a place where I will react because I've had enough. You know what I mean?
And she knows somebody there, even just yesterday I was on a call because this is literally all I do now.
Right.
And I was working with another little boy to poop, and I could tell that the dad wanted to say something so bad. And I was like, so daddy's going to not say anything, and you're going to, and parents need that support because initially you just want to react and say take a fucking shit already. Shit. It's really stressful. And even sometimes with Mackenzie, it's I'm so invested. And it's not even my own child that being a parent, you're just in there can you just poop? Just poop. It's uncomfortable. That's another thing parents say. Why are they holding it in? It's so uncomfortable.
Well, that is, all right. So I'm sure a lot of parents are wondering right now listening to this, Why? Why? Okay, if it's past it doesn't hurt anymore because she's been taking milk of magnesia and mineral oil for over 6 months, depending on the dosage. We've never really figured out the right dosage.
Nope.
And so it comes out. I mean, it is loosey-goosey, like mushy mashed potatoes, as her GI doctor would say it. It definitely is coming, and she can still hold it. So why? Why do they hold?
Her will. So a lot of times kids hold it because it's something they can control. Because at the end of the day,
Right.
I mean, other than the enema,
Right.
you really can't control getting her to poop.
Right.
So it's something that she can control. Also, when parents react, this is why I tell parents, as important as the medication, as important as having them sit, is not to react. Because I've had parents say, like, I'll take you to Disneyland, I'll get you this.
Right.
And kids, all they know is, oh, I have attention. I've got this attention. Doesn't matter if it's negative attention,
Right.
but I have mommy, I have daddy.
So that's what happens when a parent reacts.
100%. And I get it. It's really hard. And I tell parents, please don't react. But they go in, their kid is screaming, crying, bloody murder. They feel like their child's being traumatized.
I did. I've texted her a million times. I really did, until one time she was screaming. She was screaming, and you hear this as a parent, and you want to die.
gut-wrenching.
She's screaming, though. She's like, I just want to go to sleep. Please let me go to sleep. Please, but I want to go
And if
to
you
bed."
didn't have me, you're probably, like I would do the same. I'd be like, all right,
I'm
this
torturing
is
my
too-
child.
Yes.
This is child abuse. Then one time, I mean, you definitely reassured me, but one time, just so you know, everybody listening, I went in there and she was crying. I'm so tired. And it was a real tears. It wasn't the fake crying, but it was real tears. And now I realize that it was a control thing. She's losing control. So she's really crying. She's losing control. But she stopped at one moment because she was down like this. And she looked at me and went, she blew me a kiss. For those of you who can't see it, she actually blew me a kiss. A very mafiosa, like Jersey,
I gotcha, lady.
I was like, what the fuck was that? And right there, I was like, okay, you're fine. I have fed her on the toilet. I have fed her a bowl of mashed potatoes, a full bowl of mashed potatoes going in, and it was trying to come out. It tries to come out.
Well, and the thing is, because you're one of those parents, which I appreciate, you'll go look all the way in that asshole.
Oh,
and
get right in there.
We got the string beans coming out.
String cheese. And I don't know if you guys are looking, but it is string cheese. Okay, I did not know this, so let everyone know. The sign that says that your child is holding and not letting it out is what? What are the indicators?
So a lot of it is the stiffening.
Yes.
You lock the elbows, you're
Right.
holding your body, straightening the legs,
Yes.
crossing the legs.
Crossing the legs.
And a lot of times kids will try to play with the toilet paper. They'll try to do everything else to try to get the attention on
And that little insert, which I didn't know about in the beginning.
That's a big
Remember
one.
I ripped that off? I ripped it off, people. I
You
ripped it
have
off
to.
midway.
And look, she's not going to fall in. I get it.
Yeah, she sort of like does that and it's like, I'm falling. I'm like, pull yourself up.
Yeah, like you got this, Mackenzie. Like you can hold your
But
poop
when
in.
she is actually, that's another thing. So when she's crying, there are certain things that will release it from her.
The crying helps. And I always say, like, just let her cry. I know it's hard, but the thing is, when she is crying, she can't focus on holding.
Right.
So she ends up relaxing those muscles and letting the poop out.
Right.
So that's another sign. Yeah, get rid of the insert. Don't use those little potties. The little potties that people put all over their house. Don't ever do that.
Okay.
That's for your baby. That's for your 1.5-year-old, your 2-year-old. But after that, as soon as they start peeing, get them on a toilet. Get them as fast as possible. So we got rid of that. I think it was Minnie Mouse. Was it a Minnie Mouse?
No.
What
It was
was
just a white one. It was the white little one. It's called Little to Big, so it has your regular potty.
Not to take their business away, because you could use it. But for
and by the way, I do know people and their kids. They didn't have a problem with it, and their kids used it, and they were all good. But obviously, I didn't know that. But so it's the little insert that folds down on top of the big one, and then you eventually take it off. But when you realize that it was on and she was holding it, that was the big day. And I just pulled it right off the hinges and threw it.
And she was fine.
She was losing her mind.
I mean, but she was already losing her mind. You know what I mean?
That was
like,
the biggest thing, though. That was
and we never went back,
No,
which
we
is
never went
huge.
back. Yes, never went
and
back.
that's another thing is, I tell parents, like, you can't go back. Once we move the insert, you can't put the insert back in. Once we say you're out of a diaper, you're out of a diaper.
out of a diaper.
Because what happens is, as soon as you go back, then that makes her feel like things are out of control. So what does she have to do? Control more. So she holds more.
So also, which I didn't know, the skids and the poop around the tush is a huge indicator that poop is trying to come out.
And we don't call them accidents. because they're not really accidents.
Okay,
so
this
we
is
say
an
skids.
important thing because a lot of people, and school does, and I'm not going to tell. I mean, they have a protocol with everyone. I think she understands now because I make her clean up.
That's another thing. You can't just go and clean up, especially older kids, or have them be a part of it. I always say have them stand in the bathroom, and they have to be a part of it. Because if they're just going to lay there and you're having this, also don't lecture them.
Right. Okay.
Oh, next time, you should really try to go poop in the toilet, and then you wouldn't have to do. They don't care.
I've done that.
They don't give a shit.
She doesn't give a shit.
No,
she literally doesn't give a shit. There's no shits. She doesn't give any shits. I can't get the shit out of her.
We're going to get her to shit.
We are.
Although I feel like we're in a good place now with her.
We take one step forward, two step backwards with her. And I'm saying this because I guarantee you there's somebody out there that didn't know you existed, haven't probably even taken their child to a GI specialist. And I understand that 1,000,000%. It is a lot of things. My daughter has several other things that it's like one thing at a time.
And this is so consuming.
This is so consuming. I just want people to be like, oh my God, well, they have X, Y, and Z. They have this. My daughter has a lazy eye that's get fixed. She still uses her passy when she sleeps. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. And this to me is the most important thing because as we've seen, when she is cleaned out, everything about her personality.
She's happy.
Her behavior is definitely worse when she's constipated, when you see her doing the moving around.
Yeah.
I always know the tells now. Mommy, hold me. Yep. Mommy, I want to watch TV, which I know a lot of kids do want to watch TV, but when they want to sit down that often and
or lay down on their tummy.
Yes.
I have a lot of kids, they'll kind of rub their tummies on a couch, on the side of the couch because their tummies hurt.
Well, she doesn't do that, but that's a good thing to, yes.
Oh, yeah, the laying down, they'll rub their tummy on the couch. I mean, there's so many different, they'll cross their legs.
She does that.
So it's also really important not to react to that, right? Because initially you want to say, well, then just poop. Just go poop. You'll feel better. But you have to be so matter of fact and put it on her.
Especially for me, too, because when I see her doing that, I go, what's going on?
So right there, attention. Look, yes. Mommy's reacting. I'm going to keep doing this. Right?
I do it.
Ding, ding, ding.
I do it. What's going on? That's what I say. I go, what's going on here? What's happening? What do you need?
And also, she's 3. She's not going to be like, let me tell you what's going on. I'm holding in my poop.
Right.
I'm not going to poop.
Right.
And I want to watch you react.
Yes. And she's seen me react quite a bit.
I've gotten the phone call.
Yes.
The call of shame.
It is. And I mean, my daughter, and I don't know if anybody else's kid does, and she's actually 3 years and 8 months. So she's going to be
January.
Yes. And there's a part of my brain that thinks she gets a little bit more mature every single day. She understands more every single day. And I'm really hoping that things will start to click in place. You know what I mean? Having said that, she gets very, and I'm sure there's other parents out there that have this too, when she's losing control on the potty and gets very angry, she hits. Like when she's extending her legs and we have to hold her legs down, and you've seen her hit me, she'll hit my arm and then she'll try to hit my face and I can pull back. And I've actually gotten a lot better at not reacting to that, although she clocked me the other day and it shook my
She's such a badass.
She is a badass. Like
she's a badass.
Seriously, she's a badass. But it was very, toddlers are freakishly strong, and it was a hit. She looked at me to say I was going to react. I did not react. I reacted a little bit later, which was wrong. But again, I forgive myself.
And you're human.
Yes. And I'm human, and we repaired our relationship. But it's hard. It's really hard. People, it's hard. And there's no judgment from anyone, but we're giving you, that's why I wanted Naama on, to give people some of the tools, some advice to help you get there. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And you will get to the other side, as hard as it is.
Right.
And I know it consumes your life. It does. It consumes families. It consumes the weekends. It consumes, I have parents that are like, we haven't been able to travel because we can't go anywhere because, it really controls everything.
It really does.
And it is so hard. Now, it's like when parents call me, I get it. I know how hard it is. I know what it does to your mental state. Parents are like, I think about it when I wake up all day, every dynamic, every conversation. So it's so hard to rewire that and really be matter of fact and act like you don't care.
Right.
But that is so important. That's the thing. It's so important to when she has those skid marks to just not even acknowledge it, or just get her on the toilet. But you want to be like, why didn't you poop? Do you have to poop, or what's going on with your stomach? And you're also trying to rationalize with her where she's like, I'm just going to keep this pattern going because it gets your attention.
Right.
And that's another big thing, is that how much attention parents are giving to this.
Okay, so let's play out a scenario so everybody can have this in there. And then we're going to talk about some other behavioral issues, because before we even got her there, you gave me some amazing tips that really helped her. I mean, immediately. And that's the funny thing, is that I was like, oh, this is going to work so quickly, because she took to everything you said like a duck to water. And I was like, oh, she gets it. You know what I mean? And then and the poop, even in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And then we had our own issues. But everything else she's pretty much retained. So here's the scenario. Your child is on the potty. You put them on the potty and they're not pooping, and they're yelling at you. Do you stay in the bathroom? Do you leave the bathroom? What if they want to get up? Because she does that sometimes. She tries to get up. What should we do in that scenario? You try to sit them down and they sit up, even though clearly their butt is filled with poop. You can see it. What do you do?
And I will say you've been great with this. So I know it's hard. Again, I always want to validate parents, because I know it's hard. I know it's, parents think I'm traumatizing my child. They're never going to forget this, and they will get over it. But you have to be consistent, and you just have to hold them down. Because what happens is, and I see this a lot, is parents will hold their child for 30 minutes, okay? And the child's screaming bloody murder, and parents are like, this is so traumatizing. I can't take it. There's poop around the tush, so we know they have to go.
Yeah.
But it is, I will tell you, so many times the parents are like, I can't handle this, and then they get them off.
Okay.
And so what happens is, in that child's head is, I just won.
Yep.
And so if I scream like this, I won't have to sit. So it's really important that, as hard as it is, hold them down, don't engage, because I always say to you, just don't say anything. Just hold her down, don't say anything. And actually, Mackenzie's really good, because when I'm on the phone with her, she won't get up.
She will not get up when you're on the phone with her. And
she's really good.
And I can hold her legs down for a little bit. This is the way it plays out now. So I hold her legs, she's screaming, she's hitting. She gives up, and then she says, I want a hug, and she leans into the hug. And the reason I hug her is because she's now in a position that is actually a poop-friendly position.
And she's calm.
And she's
so you
calm.
can reinforce that.
And yes, so her legs are the way they should be. She's bent over, kind of like when we have stomach and we're like pooping. She's bent in that position, so I keep her there.
She's like, I give up.
I give up, and she does, and she gives up. Now, a lot of the times, I've now left. I've left her in
Which
there.
is perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
And she either screams and cries, destroys the bathroom. So what do? She's destroyed it. She has destroyed, like, the toilet paper. I see it flown out. She'll bang whatever she can break, whatever she can grab. So I try to remove everything from there. So what should parents do in that scenario when their kids start to really freak out and destroy
So
them?
that's your number one sign that they really got to go.
Okay.
So you have to remember, the more escalated they get, the more that poop's coming out, and the more that they're freaking out.
Okay.
They're losing control. It's coming out, so they're now escalating. Your job is to just stay calm and consistent. So let's say the toilet paper is getting thrown. This is another one I just saw the other day. Is their child keeps touching the toilet seat in the back.
Right.
And they kept saying, no, don't touch the toilet seat. Don't touch the toilet seat. I'm like, just remove their hand. Just without saying a word, remove their hand. Hold their hand down. The less talking, the less engaging, the more effective. Okay. So she's, piddling around with the toilet paper. I would just take the toilet paper and move it. Don't say a word. Don't say, she's kicking the stool, move the stool. Okay. The less talking, the better. The less reaction.
That's great.
And if you can leave, that's the best.
Yes. Now, we've gotten into a different habit that worked, and now it doesn't work. And
I knew this was coming.
Oh, yeah. So I give her the tablet, and it's worked more than it hasn't, but it's definitely getting to a place where now that's what she wants, is the tablet. And her neck starts hurting too. She watches the tablet, but what was happening, so my daughter was stringy. It was coming out stringy. She's not only able to hold it.
Because the big piece that we're looking for isn't coming out yet. She's just whatever she can't hold.
Yeah. By the way, we just equated to all different types of foods. So it's like string cheese, green beans, but we need pickles, sausages. Bananas, bratwurst. Don't want to exclude the bratwurst out. pretzel. I don't know, whatever you guys are thinking. Cucumber.
pretzel. Okay.
Whatever.
I would even take like an orange. You
An
know,
orange,
we could
that's
even do-
I've never seen that happen except
That's
with the
kinda big
enema.
for a
That
little
was
tush.
like with the enema, it was like a limb came out. I actually thought an organ fell out of her. I was like,
And can we talk about that smell?
oh my God. The smell. And guys, I went to Cancun with 4 other girls for spring break, and we all got sick, and we all blew up a bathroom, and the smell that came out of my daughter was worse than that. It was so bad.
I mean, that's like old.
She wouldn't
old
let
hell poop. Oh,
old,
yeah.
Old poop that she had been holding on forever. So she's able to get a little bit out of it. But when she started looking at the tablet, I noticed she forgot about sort of.
She was distracted.
She was distracted, and large pieces were coming out. And it was like, wow, okay. Distraction without mommy distracting, because I don't want distraction with me. I don't want her playing with her dolls in there. So she'll watch tablet, or sometimes when she hugs me, she also releases. But it was mainly the tablet. But then we got to a place where now she can sit on there for 30 minutes, and she'll keep saying, I'm not done, which is what you think you want to hear. Oh my God.
Right.
She's not done. She's like, no, I still have more.
But
She
she's
does
like, no,
that.
I want this tablet.
She wants the tablet.
And so that's why I don't recommend giving. Now, I'm okay if you say, make a poop, or even make
Right.
one piece, you can have the tablet for 2
Right.
minutes. Make
Right.
another piece.
Right.
You know, the tablet needs to be the reward. But what happens is these kids are so smart and they're so savvy that they learn, okay, well, here, I'll sit on the toilet. Give me the tablet. I'll tell you that I'm not done. I'll get the tablet longer. Kids are so smart. Parents don't realize how smart they really are and how resilient they are. I mean, you've seen it. She'll
Yes.
scream and cry for an hour on the toilet.
The longest she'd been on a toilet was 2.5 hours, I think. There was one Saturday that I think I talked to you. It was maybe my worst day ever. It was 2 sessions of 2.5 hours. And it was really brutal. And then she immediately got off, and she peed on her bed. It was I really actually lost my shit.
Understandably
yes,
so. You
it
just
was-
went through war for 2.5
yes,
hours.
It's like war. She, on the other hand, was fine. She was fine. A sitter came because I had a show that night, and she's like, "Oh, she was
Remember you
great."
I was like,
Oh,
how are
yeah.
you going to do this?
Oh, I did it, and I talked about it on stage, and that's my therapy. But it was really, really hard, and I was like shaking a lot. It was a really bad night, and it's been a lot of it has been a struggle. Like today, because we're switching up her, what she takes, and that's another thing too. I have to, in the beginning, I had to hold my daughter down and restrain her to get the milk of magnesia and mineral oil.
Which is
sometimes
that makes it a power struggle.
Sometimes she would spit it in my face, and sometimes she would just dribble it out.
By the way, she's like this tiny,
She's
cute
tiny.
little
She's
thing.
so tiny, but
I mean, she's so cute.
At least now we've gotten to a good place where she will take it. The chocolate squares, the X-Lax, she takes no problem. I don't even have to, but she still has to take the
So
milk
happy.
mag.
I'm so happy.
And last night she just let it dribble, and I'm like, you got to. I mean, that is a lot of like, if you take this, then you get your ice cream, and then she usually takes it, and she's like, oh, not so bad. It is a power struggle, but it's like I don't want to keep doing this anymore.
Which also contradicts what I say, right? Because it's like, I don't want you to power struggle her with anything to do with the bathroom. But here we are. We have to give her the medication because
Although,
we need her.
She doesn't, I don't think she honestly
Makes the connection?
She's not made the connection. She really doesn't understand that that's what helps her poop. I don't know if I've even actually ever said
Which is
it.
better.
Yeah,
That's better.
I just don't. I'm like, you have to take it. It's the medicine. It makes you feel good. It's like her vitamins.
Grow older, and she's like, what was I taking to make me feel good?
Yeah, I mean, it's so, but here's my question too. Like, is there something to be said about, or is it just going to get worse as she approaches 4 and she starts to understand a little bit more? Is something going to click? I always think of when she was in the NICU and she wasn't able to take a bottle for all of her feedings. And that's because she was a preemie. And I remember them saying, at 34 weeks is when a child is able to drink and breathe at the same time. And it's a light bulb moment, and they have it, and then they can do it all the time. And it happened. It's everything in her life. Every milestone has been a light bulb moment, and she never looks back. Rolling over, crawling, walking, all of it. You know what I mean? Is this going to be, though, or not?
And I get it because you've been through.
And it just seems
lot.
like we keep getting to a place where we're like,
And then we're going back.
And then we go back. So,
Which is not common, I'll tell you that. So Do I think it's going to get worse? No, I don't. I think we tweak the medication, so I'm
Right.
very happy. That's another big part of it,
Right.
is when kids can withhold, you do need to make sure that you're giving them the proper medication, the proper Miralax or the Pedialax, so they can't withhold. Now, so I feel like we're in a better place with that right now. And as long as you just stay consistent with not reacting, putting her on the toilet and having her go, put the tablet as a reward.
As a reward.
I think that we will get there. And also, this is something very important that we talked about last time, was we're not going to mess with the medication once she's pooping.
Right.
That's really important.
And I'm definitely guilty of that. And having said that, Dr. Collins, who I work with, is very responsive with emails, even on the weekends, and I keep her updated. She probably has so many clients. I don't know how she will ask, what is she on? And it was great. And then and this, by the way, I'm actually realizing, and we talked about it, she would have bouts of diarrhea, explosive sometimes. And then I would stop it because I was like, oh my God, it's too much is coming out of her.
I mean, it was all day long.
It was all day long. It was too much. And it started earlier on of the process, even before I met you, that I would definitely be like, I cannot give her she just had so much come out of her little body, everything she puts in. Now, I wasn't thinking about it until just recently when we were doing it. And then she woke up from a nap and it was explosive. And I was like, oh no, even after we had it sort of under control. And I just didn't, it just sort of hit me. She might have eaten something. It might not have been the medication. She might have eaten something that caused that explosive. Yes,
anything.
That it caused that. And I kept thinking it was that. So what I should have done is not stop it, because I would stop it for a day. But I shouldn't stop it.
Which is messing her system up.
Which is messing her system up. And I just didn't put it together because, there's definitely something that I'm sure she eats that just doesn't agree with her. And
of course.
It's this stuff that I eat that doesn't agree with me. So yeah, I think that's important too, to just stay the course with it.
Because everything is about consistency,
Yes.
right? So it's like, if you're going to mess with the medication, now you're messing with her system, not consistency. So it's like, you've got to be consistent with the sits, which I know you are.
Right.
You got to be consistent with your reactions, which is the hardest part, because sometimes you come home tired. You don't want to deal with it.
Right.
You don't want to hear her scream for an hour. But it's important. The kids need to know that is consistent.
Right.
Mommy doesn't react. This is what I have to do.
Right.
And then the medication we don't mess with.
Right.
So it's like you got to keep all the pieces consistent,
Right.
which is hard.
Right. All right. So now there are probably other parents out there too that also, there's different types of poop withholding. I had friends that were like, I used to hide from, you know what I mean, when I had to poop and stuff like
Or
that.
poop in a diaper. That's
Or
a
poop in
common
diaper,
one.
yes. And parents just find it easier to do that.
Yep.
Like I had a friend that I referred to you, and they found it easier just to keep her in pull-ups at night, because that's when she was comfortable pooping.
Which was also affecting the night routine.
Of course. How can it not?
Yeah. And they are good.
They're great. They're great. But she's slightly
She's
older,
older,
too.
I know. And
so that's what I'm wondering. Is Mackenzie, when she gets a little bit older, is something going to maybe help with that? Or no, she's just going to be more...
It could be maturity, but a lot of it is will.
Right.
And her, this could be her, one of her very last things to control before
Right.
becoming a big girl, which is funny because all she wants to do is be a big girl.
I know.
So she probably is confused between, what does it mean to be a big girl and what does
Right.
it mean to be a baby?
Right.
And she's in this place of, wait, I don't know what I want to be. And I know that babies still poop in their pants, or they, so a lot of that is also I'm in this place of, I don't know if I want to be a big kid yet. That's why a lot of times with her, I say big girl, but with kids, I'll always say you can make 3-year-old choices. You can make 4-year-old choices, because some kids don't like to be a big boy or a big girl.
Right.
Mackenzie, I know she really loves that and she thrives when she hears that.
Right.
But some kids don't.
There is a study, and I know this because I work on a trivia show. I think I told you, I don't know if it's in the States or not, but there were, first and second graders that are going to school in diapers. This is an epidemic for sure, because I've never heard that, but it is becoming a thing. And don't you think, I'm just wondering, with those kids, isn't there a sense, especially at first and second grade, any shame, or does the child not feel that, or they're just okay with going in a diaper even though they're kids? wouldn't other kids just be like, you're still in a diaper? Like, don't they, you know what I mean? Like, I remember when I was in sleepaway camp and one of the girls in my cabin didn't have her period. And we like period shamed her. We're like, oh, do you have a baby vagina? Holly Schwartz, I'm so sorry that I did that. We're friends. It's
Holly.
fine. But Holly, I'm so sorry. But we were like, but
Terrible.
Oh, you have a baby vagina?
The good thing is she's not going through premenopause till later.
I know.
So
now I want a baby
now
vagina.
Look who's laughing.
Now
Yeah,
I seriously,
exactly.
she's like, whatever. But like, do kids do that? Do these kids feel shamed? Are they, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's a big thing that concerns parents is they will say to me, my child will go and they'll have a pee accident at school. They still wear a diaper. How come they don't care? How come they don't feel embarrassed? They don't. It's totally normal. And it's funny because kids are a lot more accepting than we were when we were growing up.
Okay.
I think nowadays, because I see kids that are in a diaper and the whole class is not, and they don't care. They don't even pay attention. They don't even acknowledge it. And I see older kids when they have a pee accident, the other kids don't talk about it.
They don't?
No, they don't.
They should.
Well, I know. I mean, I remember being a kid. I remember the one time I peed. I must have been like 3.5 or 4. And I remember peeing at school, and I'm still scarred from it and how embarrassed I was. It's not like that.
It's not.
It's not. And there's not really shame. I mean, I know kids that will sit in a poopy diaper all day. They don't care. Even though it's stinky.
Mackenzie would.
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's just generational, your magic word that I can't even say now, but that they're more accepting to these things. It's not that much of a big deal because it's not just one kid. They may be used to 2 or 3 kids being in a diaper.
Now, that brings me to, you are a parent coach, and there are obviously so many different types of parents out there. And if you don't have a title, I'm sure someone will create it. There's the helicopter, the snowplow.
The gentle,
elevator parent. I don't even know what that is. Ups and downs. Who the fuck knows? But somebody comes up with a new, like, this is the kind of parent I am. I do this, I do that. I move obstacles out of their way, whatever. I mean, does that coincide with, like, the way these kids are being raised? And, I mean, like, because I remember the reason I actually went to preschool, my mom took me to a preschool in our little town, and I really wanted to go. I saw all the kids playing, and she said, you can only go if you use the toilet. And this is a story that she loved to tell everyone because it's more like it was more like, look at my daughter. And that was it. I went home and I used the toilet and I never looked back because I wanted that. I wanted to go to school. I'm sure I had accidents, but that was how I got potty trained.
Because you were self-motivated.
Yes, I was self-motivated. So is there something to be said about, and again, we're not blaming parents. I'm just wondering, with all the different types of parents out there, is something happening with our children because of the way we're parenting or people are parenting in general, that these things are happening?
I think so. I do get a lot because, again, so much of this bathroom, it has to do with control and strong personalities or kids feeling like they have to control. And a lot of the reason that kids feel like they have to control is because they feel like things are out of control. And the reason it's out of control is because parents don't parent and they want, it's like we're swing to the complete opposite of how we were raised, where we grew up with our parents, like being so strict and having so many rules and they were not our friends. And so we go the complete opposite where we're friends and we don't want to set rules and boundaries. I can't tell you how many parents say, I don't want to tell my child no. I don't want to do a timeout. I mean, it's like I spend so many meetings convincing parents why timeouts are important. But they're also bombarded with all this information.
Of course, so much information. On social media specifically.
Oh, it's like, don't do a timeout. Do a time in. Do this. And parents are like, they're going banana. A time in. That's another thing. Is like you sit with your kid as they're screaming and they're beating the shit out of you and you're just sitting there, but you're in the room with them because you don't want them to be in the room alone. Well, there's no purpose in that.
No.
So but parents don't know because they're hearing from this person. So they're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, that doesn't work. I'm going to do this, which is also scaring the shit out of your child because there's no consistency.
There's no consistency. So that brings me to before we even got into the poop stuff and the potty stuff, I was talking about our bedtime with her specifically, and she is a very well-behaved child, but right around bedtime when she would get the zoomies and she didn't want to go to bed, even though she's very, very good at going to bed. It's pretty crazy. I think I was blessed with that. But
you also probably are like, it's bedtime, girl. Like,
yeah, it
out.
is. I mean, I've never really, except for maybe once in her entire life, except for when she was like a newborn or whatever, I've never left her room with her asleep, ever.
That's important. She's used to that.
Yes, the best piece of advice that was ever given to me was in the NICU, in Kentucky with all of these amazing nurses. Honestly, they were just a godsend. And every one of them in their own way would tell me, don't you shake that baby. and I don't mean the baby shaking video. I mean, they're like, don't you comfort that. Baby knows how to self-soothe already.
True.
That baby knows. When you start rocking that baby, then they're going to expect you for the rest of their life. You're going to be rocking a teenage girl. I was like,
bring those Kentucky nurses out here.
That was the one piece of advice I just listened to from the very beginning. And of course she had sleepless nights. And of course we had like, oh my God, I got that terrible snoo that rocked her to sleep. I tried everything. But I just knew I would leave her. I'd let her self-soothe. And the girl goes to bed. Our bedtime routine, even now, is like under 30 minutes. It's amazing. She's amazing in that. She knows how to go to bed. It's all of that. But having said that, when we first started working together, she get the zoomies. I sing songs to her before she goes to bed, but she would do things. And then for some reason, there was that one aggression where she once ripped my neck open. She'd pull my hair so hard. It was pulling. I was like, babe, she'd smack my face. Not the moneymaker, first of all. I was like, oh my God. It was so jarring and so terrible. I actually would tense up. I felt abused and was like, oh my God. And then I would still have to like sing her songs, and it just took one time for me, if she did it, to be like, no songs tonight. You weren't listening to mommy. You hit mommy's face. And she was a feral animal. I closed her. I remember it was the first time I was texting you. I was holding her door. She was losing her shit, throwing everything in the room, and then she calmed down.
Which is, kids know how to self-soothe. Mm-hmm. We just need to give them the opportunity.
Absolutely. Then she went to bed, and she was crying, but she said, I don't get any songs because I wasn't listening. I don't get any songs.
If you haven't seen Mackenzie, you have to see. I mean, she's just the cutest little thing.
People
in her Spider-Man
everybody
costume.
On my Instagram, like, yeah, everybody's seen her. When she's like, I don't get a song because I hit mommy. I'm like, yeah. And I did what you said, and I go, and maybe tomorrow night, if you listen to mommy, then you get lots of songs, and I love you. And I gave her a kiss, and I left, and she went to sleep. And I think maybe one other time in the how many months we've been working but she chose to kick me. She kicked me. I go, kick me again, no song. And she kicked me. And she had a little bit of a fit, but she was like, okay. And that's fine. You make that choice. Actually,
100%.
I get a break, and I'm totally
like,
fine.
Please
kick me. Please kick me.
Now I don't have to do these songs.
Exactly. But that was like amazing. So I'm sure you have a lot of like, is that like, besides the pooping, what are the other issues that the parents?
And that actually also correlates with the poop, right? Because you're setting up these boundaries. You're setting up, I am the parent. These are the rules I'm not okay with. And the reason I love doing that is because you set it up. It wasn't, you said to her, if you're going to kick me, this is what I'm going to do. Yes. It's up to you. She chose to kick you. Your job is to follow through. Right. And what that does is it teaches her, oh, you're in charge. You make the rules. Okay, I can calm down. I feel safe. And see, these things don't take weeks and weeks weeks.
They really don't.
I mean, it was one time, yes, I'm sure it was
tough.
Bloody murder, right? You got to hear her scream and cry. And you went in, you got to kiss her goodnight. I'm sure that it was like tore your gut out. But she learned, I can't do that.
Right.
And she should test you once or twice after.
Right.
That's fine. I expect that. But at least she knows mommy follows through.
So let's tell everyone what you said, and it was the first time that we had the session, about negotiating with your child. Because I was a big negotiator. It was just like, let's make a deal. What does that do with the child when you start negotiating with them? If you want them to do something and you start negotiating with them.
So what happens is, instead of being the parent who sets the expectation, what happens is it becomes you're on the same level. Right? Because you're now setting up a negotiate. You're saying, I need you to pick up the toy. And she says, well, in 2 minutes or not yet. And then you offer another negotiation. And you guys are just negotiating back and forth until the negotiation is enough for her to do it, or you lose your shit and scream, and then she responds.
Right.
So why lose that power? Mm-hmm. Why get yourself frustrated? Because that's another thing, is parents end up getting so frustrated, they snap. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, oh, no, well, now we got to pick up the toy. And you could either pick it up by yourself, or I can help your body.
Help your body. That's one of my favorite things. I need a man to help my body right now. In a totally
But
different
do
way.
you? Because
No, I mean, just like once in a while. Just once in a while.
yeah, once in a while. Once in a while.
The problem with my daughter is she likes it when someone helps her body. At first she didn't like it, but then she doesn't. We don't go through that anymore. But I'll be like, when she first in the beginning was like, you're going to have to take your own pull-ups off and put them on, or mommy's going to have to help your body. She'd be like, help my body. And I'm like, you're not going to like it. But she kind of liked it. She eventually quickly was like, all right, she do it herself, because it just became a non-negotiation. You know what I mean? But the help the body was great, because they sort of are like, what's happening here? Why are you so like, I was not emotional and I was pulling it down. She doesn't, I guess I still have to help her body sometimes, because she's still, like, for bath time or shower time, she likes to play this game where she's going to run in her room and lay on the bed.
I love it because that's part of her personality. She's going to test you.
She is. But it's become a game now that it doesn't cause me that much frustration, because she wants me to count and see if she can get into the bathroom before I reach 10. So it's okay. So something like that, you can decide this is what we'll do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
And
she does eventually get in there.
I want to say this is really important that I tell parents. So I have a lot of parents that, like, let's just say, mornings are crazy, right? You're trying to get your kid out. So yeah, I was thinking of this dad who said to me, I have both my girls in the morning. I got to get myself ready for work. And then my daughter will ask me for a cookie. And I'll say, no, we're not having a cookie in the morning. And then she'll lose her shit. She'll have a tantrum. And he ends up giving her the cookie because he's like, I can't deal. I got to get ready. And I'm like, so you know what? Just set it up. Give her the cookie in the morning. When she says, I want a cookie, if you know that you're not going to be able to follow through, just give her the cookie. Right. Because that's more effective than saying no and then not following. Yes. Exactly. So I'd rather you just say, fine, we're going to play this game for bath time. That's going to be our new routine.
Yes.
Instead of saying, come on, Mackenzie, and then she tries to play the game and now you're playing the game.
Right.
Just set it up that way.
Now let's talk quickly before we're out of time about timeouts, because this is a big, it's a hot thing. Some people believe in timeouts, some people call them breaks. I think in the beginning I was like, oh, do I give her timeouts? Does that go against everything that gentle parenting is about? And then I got to a place where I'm like, that's just not how I parent, and that's okay. And I love how I parent. I parent how my parents parented, and I came out pretty darn good. And I'm going to do it, and that's how I'm going to do it, and nobody's going to judge me for it, although I judge myself. But the timeouts were, instrumental. She now, and she still has the moments, when she has a timeout in her room, put her on her bed, she will start to play with toys. Don't play with toys. She keeps playing with toys, or she gets so angry in her room at the timeout that she takes one of her toys and whips it hard.
Very common.
Yes. So you told me to take her by her hand and walk her into the bathroom, which again feels slightly torturous because I'm putting her in a bathroom and she does not want to be in there. She is screaming and pulling the handle, let me out of here, while I'm doing that. And I'm not traumatizing her, right?
At all. So here's, and I get it, because I remember having to put my daughter in her crib and her screaming, even now, like sometimes when she's so tired and I just put her in a room, like, you got to go. And she's like, one more hug. But we've done this game. Right. And it's like, it's so fucking hard. Mm-hmm. But I have to think, what is better long term? Right. Not the Band-Aid now. So when you put her in her room and you set up these consequences, you're setting her up to cope with the real world. Right. Because not everybody is going to give warnings after warnings after warnings. It's like, if you're going to choose to do this, this is what happens. And yeah, she may be pissed off because now she was playing in her room, so she wasn't following the rules. So now we got to put her in the bathroom. She's choosing. If she doesn't hit you, she doesn't have to go in the bathroom. It's not like you're coming in saying, oh, it's 5 o'clock, get in the bathroom, I'm putting you in there. It's, if you choose to hit me, which is completely unacceptable, you're going to go in your room. And in real world, the problem is a lot of these kids that are growing up, they're 16, 17, 18, they show up late to their job.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
I mean, they don't give a shit because there's no, exactly.
Absolutely. And that was definitely not my generation. Oh my God.
And we came from such a different place of respect in people's times and work. It's funny, my periodontist was saying he had, somebody who's in dental school that was helping him out, and he was like, oh, I need you to go get these tools. And she was like, don't talk to me that way. And he was like, we're in surgery, I need you to go get it. And she quit. Oh. And it stood out in my head, and I thought, these kids are not prepared for real world.
Now, here's the thing, though. What's interesting that I was just talking about with my other friend who has a daughter who's, 14. the younger generation right now, the Gen Zs, that a lot of them that would do that, they were raised by us, our generation for the most part. Like, I'm an older parent, you know what I mean? So I'm raising Generation Alpha. But a lot of these like 20-something-year-olds that I'm meeting, like young 20-something-year-olds, their parents are my age. So how did they flip that? If I was raised a certain way, are they all of a sudden just like, now I'm gonna just like not teach consequences? How did that happen?
I think that they grew up with consequences. A lot of them had really strict parents, abusive parents, and so they went the other direction. And what I always tell parents is we need to be in the middle.
Yeah, of course.
And you can't let your kid run the show. And that, again, is a big reason why a lot of these kids have potty problems, is because they are running the show. Right. And parents say, okay, fine, if you want to poop in your diaper, that's fine. And then they'll call me at 5 years old and they'll say it's really gross and I don't want to change 5-year-old poop. And I'm like, yeah, we gotta start setting that boundary of no, this isn't going to happen. You know, so we have to prepare these kids for real world, for dealing with disappointment. Not everybody's a winner.
Yes, and that is such a, oh my God, people really need to hear this right now. If you are struggling, if you're raising kids, if you're watching, whatever you're watching on TikTok or social media, because you're seeing first of all, it's fine to look at some of that stuff and maybe pull, I think, some of those things, cherry pick some of the advice that I think really resonates with you. I think that is the biggest thing. There's a lot of people out there that's like, I'll just do what they're doing.
Yes.
And you have to listen to your gut. And I got to a place.
And what fits you.
And what fits you and how you want to raise your child. But I think, honestly, setting consequences, you know, letting them know that, yes, not everyone's a winner. It's okay to fail. You know what I mean?
It's okay to be disappointed.
Of course it is. Absolutely. I mean, it's really, really important because we went so far in the pendulum that we need to course correct a little bit and come back in the middle. I mean, that's probably, you know, is true for everything in our country, in our world right now. But it's true. That's what happens. You know what I mean? And it's so important because I know a lot of people put on a really happy face and they are fucking struggling.
I think most people are struggling.
They're really struggling, not just parents, but I think people in general. And talking about it, working with someone like you, talk about it. Don't just keep it to don't fucking hold it in like my daughter holds in her shit. You know what I mean? Like, seriously,
Let that shit out, people.
Seriously, it really is, because I've definitely done that. Again, like I said, I came from a school of like, it's more important to be happy than it is to be right.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is true, for sure. Pick your battles. But other times it's like, no, I don't want to hold this in. That's how we become people pleasers. That's how we get ulcers. It's a whole bunch. My mom did that her entire life. I don't think that's the right way to go. You know what I mean? And I think
100%.
Listen to your gut, literally, and poop. Where can people find you?
They can go to my Instagram, Naama Parent Coach.
Everything will be on my...
Yeah, you'll follow her, and I'll post on mine. Or just type in Naama Cameron.
Yes.
Naama Parent Coach.
Parent Coach.
The potty fairy may show up at your house.
The potty fairy might. And it's a game changer. I like to have people on the show and talk about things that are game changers, and Naama is a game changer. Or llama.
Teacher llama.
Teacher llama. So cute. It's so cute. Guys, thanks for watching, listening. My name is Jodi Miller. And don't forget, don't call us ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. Don't call anyone ma'am unless you're in the military.
Ever.
It's the only way. All right. See you next time.
You can call me Hottie.
Yes, hot.
Yes.
Hottie and Hottie.
Hot Mama Naama.
Oh my God. How have you not been hot Mama Naama?
So I was back in the day. I should have started with that story way back in my good days. Hot Mama Naama.
You're still hot Mama Naama.
I mean, thank you.
You're mama, baby llama, mama jama.
Baby llama. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
this has been so fun.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.